Hey Radiant Souls, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Heather Mays. I am an intuitive counselor, artist, author, animal communicator, energy healer, coach, teacher. I don't know, I keep adding to that list, but the underlying current of all of that is that I'm on a mission to help you connect with your divine radiant light. So once a month, I like to come to this little YouTube shindig we've got going here and give a monthly forecast. And so it is time for the forecast for June. If you're ready, let's get into it. So let's level set about the monthly forecast a little bit. If you're new and this is your first time, or let's just recap it again since we do only get it once a month. This is me bringing through channeled information from my team of guides. So I work with guides in spirit, the angelic realm, and multidimensional beings. And we kind of co-create this forecast for you. So they dump a lot of information on me and I generally go, okay, what do you want me to do with that? And then I break it down and kind of part and parcel it out so that it makes some kind of, I hope, sense and resonates with you. So I got a lot of feedback about May. You guys really loved that, and I'm so touched and honored at all of you who reached out. For June, there was a lot. I'm not gonna lie, it was a big transmission. The art was overwhelming. The transmission itself was a little overwhelming. So I come to you kind of hat in hand saying, let's walk through this together because it's a lot, but it's still beautiful and a great message. So the word or the concept for June is tenacity. Why do we need tenacity, Heather? What do we have to get through? Why do we have to be persistent? I know what you're asking. And I had the same question, but it is twofold. We are being asked to develop it and maintain it, but we're also celebrating the fact that we have it. So we're gonna get to the celebration part at the end. We're gonna have a little party at the end. But as far as calling it forward, calling upon it and developing it, that's what we're gonna talk about in the main part of this message. So tenacity is the quality of being persistent. It is seeing something through. It's being steadfast. It's being determined. There's a little bit of a stubborn quality to it as well, which surely none of us here have, right? Not me, surely not. But the energy of June, what we will see prevalent around us in June, don't be scared. We're gonna need to bring some tenacity, and that's the card we're gonna need to play in this particular poker game. So I don't really drop intel here. I'm not like some of my friends who do that. That's just not my thing. They're very good at it. I don't really do that. I'm just saying this is what's prevalent in the energy, and this is what we're being asked to bring through to help us navigate it. It's kind of like if we are whitewater rafting, here's the particular paddle that we're gonna need to steer with. So tenacity is it for June. So from this one concept of tenacity, the transmission branched out into a lot of different things. And it's funny that I use the word branch because the main concept is that of growing roots and seeding something. So planting, but they were very specific in not saying planting, they were saying seed. And anytime I would hear or see the word seed, S-E-E-D, it was with emphasis on the first three letters. So seeing and seeding something. But what seeds can we each plant within ourselves and within the world around us that allow something to take root so that it can rise rooted? That was the phrase, rise rooted. So there's an element of fertility in that as well, which we will kind of pull through and touch on in a minute. But the whole thing about having tenacity and having persistence and determination and stubborn, that kind of implies that you are doing something through time, right? You only have to be tenacious and carry something through and be persistent with it when it has to stretch. So again, I can hear you guys saying, no, things are gonna keep going on like they are. Just wait, be patient. in more ways than one on that. But time has been coming up a lot for me in the private discussions I have with some of you in consultations. And what a lot of us are feeling is, why am I waking up now? Why didn't I have this juicy knowledge 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago? You know, a lot of us are at an age where maybe we're the parents or the grandparents, and we're like, well, my ship already sailed. Like, what am I supposed to do now? I can't like craft and create this new world from where I am now. And I say, oh, but you can, and you are. So when we talk about time, the message that comes through from the guides, you know, it didn't happen, whatever it is for you. And it might not be tied to ascension or development. It might just be, why didn't I find this really great relationship or this great job? Like, why is it just happening now? Where's it been all my life? That kind of thing. Because it wasn't time yet. It wasn't time 10 years ago, 12 years ago, 15 years ago. There were lessons that you needed to learn and experience to give you your unique perspective. And then when I got to this part of the message, when we're looking at your unique perspective, they had two branches of that to help kind of clarify it for us. They like to talk in a lot of metaphors and analogies, and I roll with it. So your perspective in that you are a... Okay, sorry, you guys. Distracted. Hold, please. There was a spider crawling up one of my lights over here, and I saw it before, and I was cool, but it just went behind the light and made the biggest shadow that you've ever, like, it was terrifying. Nonetheless, we have a friend helping us today. So, sorry to be distracted, but I felt you could hang with that kind of knowledge. So, when we're talking about lessons and perspectives that you need to learn, that were giving you your unique flavor or your unique melody, there were kind of two branches off of that. And all related to time and having to weather the storm and be tenacious through time. So if we look at flavor, when you cook a meal, this is a really active spider, you guys. When you cook a meal, like a kind of holiday feast, if you will, you don't put every dish on at the same time, because they're not all going to cook at the same rate, at the same temperature. And if you want them all to come out at the same time, you got to start them at different times. So that's us. We aren't all meant to, you know, be awake or find the relationship or find the job at a specific time. There are other factors in play in the world around us, in our communities, in our families, that impact whether or not something is the right time for us. So when we're looking at specifically like ascension and things happening in the world right now, the energies collectively weren't right yet 10, 15, 20 years ago. So that's why some of us didn't get the call or didn't get the nudge or didn't get this knowledge. It's not that we were lacking or slacking. It's that it wasn't time for this many people to have this level of awareness and frequency. So the other kind of path off of having a different flavor or your unique melody, if you look at music, and they use this analogy a lot, that we're all our own instrument in this like bigger band, this ascension band of awesomeness, right? But we all have our own tones and our own melodies. And so if you think of like a guitar, often the wood in the guitar gets better with age. The tone improves with age. And so allowing for that to happen and not feeling that you missed the boat or you could have taken this exit off the highway a long time ago. You didn't miss anything. It wasn't really your time yet. So it's our time now. If you're here and you resonate with this, welcome. It's our time. And that's amazing, because that means that the conditions were ripe. So if we think about seeding something too, and if you look at that from a planting perspective, you don't really plant your crops. You know, there are some that you plant in the winter, there are some that you plant in the spring. There's a timing to that, as well. So just keep that in mind that you didn't miss anything. It just wasn't the time yet. But now that it is, we're still going to need that tenacity. Pull that tenacity out of your back pocket. Put on your big girl panties, as they say, because we've got to push through and persevere through some of this. So to sum up that little part, you are the seed that was planted where you are, specifically in time and place, to anchor in light and to bring in the energies and bring heaven into earth. So there is also a lot in this transmission of alchemizing and bringing things through. And I talked about fertility earlier. So bringing things through because you are planted where you are specifically. So for some of you, that may look like I said earlier, you're the grandparent or you're the parent of maybe this child who is very unique and special and a star seed. And that's a topic for another day if you're not aware of that. But I feel like many of you in my audience or in my community are kind of in that category because I see it and I'm seeing it happen throughout the world. Just these amazing balls of light, children souls coming in that are so different in frequency from the rest of us. But you're where you are to help shepherd that soul in, and that's amazing and beautiful. For others of you, it may be you being in the absolute authentic frequency that is you, that changes and alchemizes things around you, and you may not even know it. You may just be holding that resonance, like you may be holding a bass note in a song while the melody plays around. That's still important because that gives texture to the whole piece. So it's you, it's the conversations you're having, it's the knowledge you're learning, it's the frequency you're bringing that is planting the seed. And both of those are amazing and beautiful ways to plant the seed and to bring heaven onto earth. So the guidance for June is to become and remain energetically tuned, to keep bringing and seeding and alchemizing this energy. So there was also a lot for those of you who don't really know the energy body. We'll see that in the art in a little bit, but like the chakras and the energy centers in the body, there was a lot of focus on using that, using us. We're the instruments in that way too, that we transmute and change things energetically. So we're taking low frequency, processing it through our bodies and making it high frequency just by that transformation. And in the same way, we take high frequency things and we bring them in and we anchor them into earth so that they are more readily spread, seeded throughout this dimension. So when we think of tenacity, it is the persistence of something through time. So let's talk about time for a minute, because that gets a lot of us stuck. Like, we're really good at thinking the big thoughts and seeing the big picture and dreaming big, but we want it now. Kind of like the why didn't it happen before? We want to be like, why isn't it all better? Like, why? Are we there yet? We're like the kids in the back of the car. Are we there yet? Is it time? And the guidance that was coming through for this is time is not our enemy. We look at it as a challenge when really it's a gift. And what I mean by that is, as we ascend and in higher dimensions, manifestation is instant. Time is what allows us to have perspective, to have discernment. If you think about all the thoughts you think that just kind of ramble through your head on a daily basis or even an hourly basis, does it really seem that manifestation, instant manifestation, is a great idea right now? I know for me, there are some thoughts, like I'm pretty good and I'm pretty diligent about being the observer of my thoughts and all of that, but still, there are a few that slip through that I really don't want to see instantly manifest. So time is helping us as we are still here in this third dimensional world. Time is helping us develop that and have that discernment and become that observer and get that clarity. So it's important that we honor that and we consider it a gift and use it. Use it as part of this tenacity equation. It is being persistent through time in both ways that you view it. Looking back at yourself and having the awareness and the forgiveness that I didn't know what I didn't know. But also in looking forward. Like, I don't need to say, okay, ascension is going to happen on a certain date on the calendar. And I'm not going to say one because somebody would be like, Heather says it's going to happen at this date. And I don't know. But I'm saying we need to release the expectation that it happens at a certain time. Because just like the holiday meal, things are cooking along in other dishes that we don't know about. And it'll be time when it's time. So that's all there is on that. If you see me looking around, it's because I had pages and pages of notes because there were a lot of different things coming through for this. So next up on the little agenda for the monthly forecast is the animal totem. The animal energy that wanted to come through to support this today was the turtle. And when I think of tenacity, I wouldn't have come up with turtle, but it makes sense the way it was presented to me. So as we are saying, sowing the seeds of heaven on earth, turtles connect sea and land, water and land. They're aquatic and they're land-based. And then they're also ambassadors of fertility. If you think of, how many of us have seen video or seen it personally of turtles walking up on the beach to lay their eggs, and then the turtles are like, see ya, I'm out, I'm gonna go swim some more. Or like a snapping turtle will walk miles away from her home to go lay her eggs as well, and then that's it. They're seeding things for the future. And even the connecting of two worlds, bringing heaven into earth. Some native traditions have amazing stories of creation where the turtle plays a pivotal role in marrying those two worlds together. So turtle for that. Oh, and also the other thing for the turtle was kind of developing a thick skin, so being tenacious, being persistent, but a turtle's shell is connected to its rib cage. So having that tough skin and that hard as nails exterior or whatever, coming from your heart space, coming from your rib cage, coming from the essence and location of your soul, and having that be what fortifies you. The natural element for this month is quartz. And I love quartz. It's one of my favorite minerals, one of my favorite crystals, but it's coming up here because it's everywhere. And I like that message because those of us who are waking up, those of us who are sowing the seeds of light, guess what? We're everywhere too. And I'm starting to see that more and more from those of you who are reaching out around the world. Everywhere. People are clicking on, they are lighting up, we are sowing those seeds of light. So quartz is everywhere. It's super common, it's abundant. It is also, coincidentally, formed by heat and pressure. So it is tenacious. And, formed by heat and pressure, that doesn't sound like any of us right now, does it? What we're going through, constant heat and pressure, things getting turned up and cranked up. So I think there was a synchronicity and a symmetry there with us. It's also a connector of two worlds, heaven on earth, because it has earth-based uses in a lot of our technology and clocks, and I won't even go into the whole list because you guys know it, but it also has that metaphysical crystal healing property, so it's bridging those two worlds too. And then as far as like alchemizing and transmuting energy, it's got those wonderful piezoelectric qualities where it can bring some electricity, so it can transform one thing into another, just like we're being asked to transform those higher frequencies and lower frequencies and sow those seeds in that way. So very cool there. So the affirmation for June is this: I see and seed limitless potential in myself and others and I shine through the storm and rise rooted with tenacity. So that's a long one. Let me say it again. I see and seed limitless potential in myself and others. I shine through the storm and rise rooted with tenacity. So I mentioned storm in that affirmation, and we're going to talk about the channeled art next. But after that is the celebration I alluded to, and being the eye of the storm, which some of you may know as a video on my channel, and I'll link it when we get to it. But I kept hearing that same message come through for us, so I wanted to include it here as well in this because I think it applies to this message too. And I just want you to have it again or for the first time if you didn't know it already. But let's look at the art that came through for June. So this is the energetic representation of the frequency of tenacity. And I have to tell you, this one hit me a little differently as the artist pulling it through. It woke me up, honestly. It woke me up in the middle of the night after I had already drawn it or worked on it. It just kept calling to me. There is something about it for me that is, it's just pulling me in. So the intent of it overall at like kind of the macro level is that it's an eye. This circle in the middle is the pupil of the eye. And I don't mean for that to be creepy if eyes aren't your thing and that like freaks you out a little bit. That's not it at all. And you don't have to see it as an eye, but that's just part of what was coming through when we talk about seeding and seeing the future and seeding and seeing light. So the perimeter of that circle, the outside perimeter, is those are quartz crystals that also kind of look like a clock. So we were focused on time and the discussion of time and how it relates and is important to tenacity. So the quartz was showing up there as well. There are also those little balloon looking things that are meant to be seeds. So seeding in reality. And then the middle section in that green, inside the green in the very middle, those of you who know the energetic centers or the chakras, you can see there are a couple maybe missing. So we've got orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple. What you don't see is red for the root chakra and kind of a white for the crown chakra. But those are, root is still at the bottom, crown is still at the top. If you look, they're kind of blurry, and there's this column of light coming up through the middle of the energy body here. And the root chakra and the crown chakra are blurred out because they're active in this. And if you really zoom in, you kind of also see some rainbow colors. It's the rainbow light body, but it is the active alchemizing of energy between the root and the crown chakra that is meant to be reflected here. And then if you look kind of in the lighter blue section inside the circle, that looks like your piezoelectric kind of electrifying stuff represented there. And the overall colors back on the outside of the pink, that's divine love and a connection to source, God, the divine. The yellow is back to that kind of sense of self and your awareness of self in the whole. And then that green and blue was really meant to reflect Earth, our planet being primarily green and blue when we see it represented. And that is really it for the art. So I hope you guys like that one. I am still really entranced by it, and maybe that's just me, but it pulls me in. That's all I'm going to say. So maybe tenacity is an important message for me this month, for sure. So when we talk about celebrating the tenacity we already have, so a lot of what we talked about was how to do it, why we do it, why it's important, but we already do. And hats off to those of you who recognize things in yourself or in the world that aren't quite the way you want them to be, but have the persistence to stick through it and bring your brand of radiance anyway. And I know there are so many of you out there, and you're doing the work, and I want you to know you're doing amazing. Even though sometimes it may look under or unappreciated in the world around you, pay that no mind. You're doing amazing. So a few months ago, my guides channeled this little, it's kind of like a love note to all of us. And I just wanted to read it. It is a video that has like some visuals to reinforce the message, but I wanted to share it here too, just because I think it really celebrates tenacity, and it also plays off the I and seeing and seeding, because it's being the I, as in what you see, but also the letter I, being the eye of the storm. Hey, radiant soul, I see you shining your light into the darkness, feeling as though your brand of passion and compassion may not be in fashion for the world around you. But you are not for everyone. You are not of this time and this place. You are of all time and all place. The glorious echo of creation shouted across the mountaintops of eternity. Hey, radiant soul, I see you. Wondering if, wondering when, wondering how, feeling as though you're weathering a raging and relentless storm. But you are the I in this storm, balanced, centered, strong. Dive down to the depths of your soul and become the I witness, saying, I witness light, I witness hope, I witness sovereignty, I witness love. Hey, radiant soul, I see you, I witness you. Alchemizing your grief and your loss into purpose-driven steps of righteousness. Feeling as though you stand alone and rising again and again to aim for the summit. Call forth the divine glory of creation within you. Transmute the constraints of time and breathe in the infinite possibility all around you. Stand tall and shine, for yours is the light that guides us all home. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll see you next time. Bye.